The next presentation we're going to have is from Sean Stone, who is our Chief Medical Officer. What title do we give you? Chief Medic. Chief Medic. Sean's looked after the medical side of the race for many years now and has built up a wealth of experience. So Sean's going to do a presentation. He's going to involve somebody else. I'll leave it to you, Sean, to talk through.
Thanks very much, Ian. I'm going to not labour things quite as much as I have done in some previous years, and I'm going to change it around a little bit this year to just freshen it up a little, and I'll spend the first sort of 5 minutes or so discussing a couple of things that can come up where things can go wrong with your race, and then I'm going to introduce one of our regular runners to everybody who's not met him before, and we'll talk through a story from 2019 that's quite relevant to what does sometimes go wrong. So first things first, let's see if I can actually work this machine. Yeah, which way do you use it? Come on, give me a clue. Okay, there we are. So I kind of think in terms of what's the worst that can happen, and these are a selection of things that are really not very good. You can read them for yourself, and you get an idea of the things that we tend to encounter from time to time at the race. Pretty much everything that's on there we have encountered in the West Highland Way race. So that's a kind of blunt, oh, okay, yes, it's amusing, hang on a minute. This is serious. So let's not have things go wrong. Let's try and get ourselves in a position where you don't end up with one of those off that list, so that your day ends up rather disastrously. And as I've said at the bottom of the page, after that, everything else is relatively minor. We can patch you up at the trail side. You can push yourself a bit further, unless we tell you you can't. And that's where the advice from the medical team really makes a big difference, is that we have to make a decision when it's no longer safe for you to continue. And in some cases, that isn't a popular decision, because you have put an enormous amount of yourself into your preparation and your training, and we do want to see you successfully at the finish, but we'd far rather see that success at the finish than find you in a body bag. Okay? So, one of the things that can ruin your day is overtraining. And some of the things that I see at the trail side are the result of overtraining. And they can also be the result of undertraining. But something that's a bee in my bonnet is Triple Crown. I am not keen on the expression Triple Crown. I know a lot of you have done it. I know a lot of you want to do it. It's a thing in itself that exists outside of the West Highland Way race, and a lot of people see it as an important objective. The problem is that it's an objective that's only realistic for some people. Some people can do it in one season, but not that many people have that level of fitness and determination and everything going well and everything going luckily for them, everything falls into place. It's a really difficult one. Evaluation, to me, is much more important, and being wise in training is more important. And as I've said, empty miles. Lucy referred to that as well. You get to a stage where you can go beyond the point that's doing you benefit. Quality is more important than charging away and getting numbers onto a spreadsheet. I don't have the answers. That's what I like to say. Not for everybody. The coach might have answers for some of you, but again, there aren't always answers to everybody. We can't just wave a magic wand and tell you that what you're doing is right, you're doing enough, you're doing too much. But there's an awful lot of indicators that are telling you where you've gone too far. It's particularly important that you don't start if you're not well. If you get to the start line in good shape, that's wonderful. The statistics say that getting to the start line is, you've done the hardest bit. You've finished the training successfully and you've got there. The statistics show that a lot of people will drop out during the training process because they realise that they're not ready. Once you get to that start line, you've now got a better chance of finishing than you had back at the beginning when you put your name down on the original application. But if you reach that start line unwell, if you reach that start line sick, in any way, being feverish, having been ill that day, with a bad cold, then you're gonna be a mess halfway down the course, and I'm gonna have to clean up that mess, and I'd really rather you didn't. Anxiety is another issue that comes up a lot. Again, I don't have answers to this. I'd rather you simply read that through and had to think about it and see how it reflects for yourself, because confidence is such an enormous part of your training. A confident runner has a much better chance of finishing. To me, the friendship, the community, the support that you find around you in the ultra community is probably the most important aspect of it all. I absolutely love this family that the race represents, and that's the reason that I'm here, is because of the people. This is more familiar ground for me than the people stuff. I spend a lot of time going through pre-race reviews, looking at your medical history that you've declared, and discussing that with the various doctors that I cooperate with in all the races that I go to. We will be producing new guidance, and this is the reason really that I'm not labouring the medical issues as much this year as normal. I want you all to read it next month when Rebecca, Cam and I have finished the new guidance and put it up on the website. I want you to read it then, rather than labouring stuff just now. But having said that, there are a few race day issues that you must know about. And hyponatremia is the first of those. That is overhydration, for those who haven't come across the term before. It's where you flood your system with too much fluid, not enough sodium in your blood, you're washing the sodium out of your blood, and this is going back to the first slide I put up, where the brain expands, and people do die of hyponatremia. It's uncommon. I tend to see about 1 case a year in Scotland. It's resolvable. If we see it soon enough, we can fix it. We can fix it really quite quickly at the trail side if we have to. Quick blood test, add in some hypertonic saline, and usually the runner will feel better straight away. That runner now needs hospital treatment, but at least they're still alive. We covered rhabdomyolysis at some length last year, quite considerable effort with Jamie Aarons describing her personal experience of that in Italy at a race. Rhabdomyolysis is where your protein breakdown products in your blood effectively clog your kidneys, and your kidneys cease to function. They're unable to process the blood, they're unable to clean your blood, and you run into a brick wall eventually. It's most obvious usually from the presence of a little bit of brown protein or blood in your urine, and that's the most visible sign that you've got a problem. It is also accompanied generally by terrific cramps in the muscles, really out of character with everything that you've experienced previously. It's a thoroughly unpleasant experience getting rhabdomyolysis, and it is quite dangerous. Again, we can check it with a blood test, but if it shows up, you're going to hospital to get treatment relatively quickly. It's not something I can fix at the trail side. Drug impacts interactions, what I'm really driving at there, most of the people who are here will have heard me banging on about this year after year and race after race. Do not take non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, because the insult of running that you're already doing that damages your kidneys anyway will be doubled by the effect of having the non-steroidal drugs. That is ibuprofen family, naproxen, diclofenac, anything from that family of drugs. It's a double impact on the kidneys, and your kidneys can simply stop functioning. And it's very, very difficult to run when you ain't got any kidneys. That is going to ruin your day, and it's going to ruin my day as well, so I'd rather you didn't. Cardiac problems. I spend masses of time talking to people with high blood pressure who've declared in their race applications about their high blood pressure, and going through their history and trying to establish who is high risk, who is relatively low risk, who for whom it's still sensible to carry on running, training, and getting ready for the West Highland. The vast majority of people who have high blood pressure can carry on and run successfully. Occasionally things go wrong beyond simply the high blood pressure, and it can get a little bit more complicated. Can't wave a magic wand and fix that problem for you. If it comes up during the race, then you're going to be stopping, you're going to need some help. I don't have anything more to add at that point, really, despite Lucy's comment earlier on about compartment syndrome, that's an incredible rarity, usually brought on by people who've been pushing extremely hard, particularly on the downhills. It does an awful lot of damage to the muscles. There's an awful lot of swelling in the compartment. In that case, it's usually the calf muscle that causes the big problem. It swells up inside the bag of that surrounds the muscle. And it's excruciating. It's thoroughly unpleasant, but I usually see it about once every 5 years. That's about how often somebody shows up with that at one of the races. However, after that, David, could I ask you to come down, please? David had a little incident last year whilst running. Some of you will know David, but what I'd like to do is just ask you a few questions and run through what happened. Cool. So, previous racing experience, that's firstly. A bit about your background and into ultra running, please.
Well, first, for those that don't know me, this is where you get to the back end of the field, the very opposite of Lucy. I started running in 1982, in the middle of the first running boom, many years ago. Trained for one race and stopped, and didn't run again for 11 years. Don't know why. Started again 93. Finally joined a club in 2001 and started running ultras 8 or 9 years ago, I think.
Right. What was your first ultra?
It was probably one no one's ever heard of. It was a charity thing in Millport.
Okay.
5 laps around the island. I think Ian's quite familiar with it. I've done that. Used to take the kids there in the summer, and we've done that 10-mile race loads of times. I thought that's a perfect way to start.
When did you first come to the West Highland then?
Well, a pal of mine from Calderglen Harriers, Ian Ray, has done it 13 times, 14 times, something like 12 or 13. So he got me interested in it in the first place. I blame him for everything, really. You know.
Okay.
So I think I did the fling in 20. I've done the last 7 flings.
Yep.
So okay. Whatever year that was, 2012.
And fastest finishing time?
Fastest? Oh, that's a word I don't use much. There you go. 12 something, 12 and a half maybe. 12 and a half hours. For the
fling?
For the fling, yeah.
And West Highland?
I've never broken 30 yet.
Right.
30 and... No.
But you're...
possibly 3 days, yeah. I think I finished on the Sunday anyway, yeah.
But you definitely finished?
Oh, definitely finished, yeah. Well, apart from the year of DNF'd at Kinloch leaving, that was painful, that year.
A wee bit so.
I count that almost as a completion, but yeah.
Yeah, I remember. Okay, 2019, last summer, how was your summer going into the autumn?
I hate to mention it, but I did the Triple Crown last year. Sorry.
Well...
I could explain a lot of enough, yeah. No, it was fine last year. Well, most of last year. Sorry, most of last year was fine. There was no indicators as to what was going to happen, I don't think.
Right.
I did have a very bad Devil of the Highlands though, but it was a scorchingly hot day. I think it was the hottest day of the year.
It was. I remember I was there.
Oh, it was awful.
On the course.
Yeah, that was. I think I was.
Never again.
5th last. I think it was 5th last that year or something. Oh, of course you did. That was your ultra, yeah. I forgot about that, yeah.
Yeah.
You finished well in front of me. That's for sure. So that might have been an indicator.
Okay, take us into the autumn then, and on the day, what were you doing?
I was doing Scottish Athletics, West of Scotland.
Your mic up.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I've not done this before. The West District cross country relay. I'd decided after the Devil to do a few shorter, sharper races, try and get a bit of speed in my legs. And on the day, I didn't feel that brilliant. I must admit, I had a pretty crappy warm up. But we all get these days, so as we all know.
But you started. You went out.
I started. Yeah, I did a warm up.
So although you didn't feel 100%,
no, I didn't.
You
feel
started.
Wonderful. I knew I was going to, but it was only 4K.
Right.
I feel a bit of a fraud actually sitting here with running 4K when we're talking about running 95 miles. But never mind.
So you started.
I started. I got slower. I got overtaken by a boy about this size who was running for his university. I remember that. And I got about halfway around into a field. This was down in Kilmarnock, by the way, anybody that knows the route. And a sudden pain in my chest. So I stopped and walked for a bit. started running again, as you do. Got a pain in my arm. And I thought, this isn't good. Started running again. I think I carried on running for about 4 attempts. I finally decided, no, I know what's going on here. And I walked up towards a marshal, who happened to be David McClure's dad, winner of the West Highland Way 2 years ago. And the first thing I said to him was, I think I'm having a heart attack. So he didn't panic. He was very well organised. He got on the phone immediately, got me off down to the road. I think I stopped 3 times trying to be sick on the way down, which is another sign. The marshal there bundled me into his car. Ian Gebby, is it, for the Commander Harriers, he turned up in his car, so I got bundled into that car. They brought me back to the tented village. And if you're going to have a heart attack when you're running, I would recommend doing it at a Scottish Athletics event, because they've got I don't know, nobody would. They've got what do you call them, paramedics on site for the whole event, so the 2 of them treated me immediately. My clubmates were all around as well, which helped. Eventually the ambulance, I think they'd gone to the front of the arena, but they had to come round the back. They got me in there in time. I went into cardiac arrest in the back of the ambulance, which is not a bad place to do it. But I believe the paramedics had a defibrillator there. They could have done it.
By the time you were collapsing and switching off in the back of the ambulance, they'd already got a monitor on you. They already had the pads on your chest.
Yep, I was wired up.
You were already wired up,
yep.
And therefore, as your heart went into defibrillation, the equipment was there, ready to restart it.
Almost as though they knew it was going to happen.
It's funny that, isn't it? Picked up on the warning signs.
I believe it took something like half an hour before they finally opened the door of the ambulance again. All my clubmates were around the back wondering what was going on. But
by which time you were alive again, which is
I was
good.
alive again, yep.
Which is excellent.
I don't think my heart stopped. I was told my heart probably went too fast rather than stop, but it doesn't really matter. I don't remember anything about it. I just remember them shouting at me as I came out of it, what felt like a dream.
So you were then taken away to hospital?
I was taken up to Hare Myers in East Kilbride. I had 2 stents put in 2 of my arteries, and I felt fine ever since, really. A lot better than I did on the day.
Yeah. Okay. So initial recovery, and can you talk us through what you've had to do, what you had to go through to get back out and start running again, the process, and bear in mind the time scale that we're talking about. Since
well, it was 4.5 months ago, 12th of October. So first few weeks, all I did was very, very low key walking. Which my wife wouldn't let me do by myself, so she had to take the dog out, come back, then take me out, which was good exercise for Alison. But I think every medical professional I spoke to was so positive, and my pals who are in the heart business, Ruth and Jim there, that I would get back to it. I never once doubted them. So I've always just treated it like an injury, which is, I suppose it is.
That's exactly what it is.
Exactly, a bloody severe, sorry, a fairly severe one. But so I've kind of, in my mind, I've just looked at it. Okay, I'll just do a little bit more. I'll ease back. Bit more. So just like any other injury, really, except it's taken a lot longer to get where I am even now than I thought it would.
Any setbacks along the way, particularly?
No, not really. No, it's all been pretty positive. It's just been much slower than I hoped.
Steady but slow.
Anticipated. Steady, very steady. Yeah. As you know, I had a hope to do the fling, which was hopelessly optimistic, really, but it gave me a goal. I had something in my mind to do. I'm not doing it now.
David and I discussed doing the fling this year about whether it was a good idea or not, and we decided between us that having it as an objective was worth more than saying, no, it's not happening. So what have we now got instead?
I've entered the devil. It's 6 months away, come on. Is it 5? 5 months away, sorry. I've got a marathon at the end of next month. I probably won't complete that, but it's on the track. It's in East Kilbride as well. So it's only a couple of miles away from the house. And if I feel like stopping halfway, my car's just in the car park there, it won't be too far.
I think
I ran 13 miles on Sunday there, which is the longest I've managed so far. So hopefully I might get up to, 18, 20 by the end of the month. So we'll see. I won't be stupid about it, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I keep saying the same thing, which is, as long as you're not stupid about it, gradual progress is really reliable progress. And I do hope to see David at the Devil this August.
Are you running it this year?
The Devil? No, running's for dafties, remember? I've done it once, that's enough, thanks. So, any lessons, do you think?
Bit late for most folk here, but don't start smoking. That's the only thing that anybody has ever pinpointed as a possible reason for my heart attack. I've got an active lifestyle, I always have, ever since I was a kid. We've had a reasonable diet for many years in the family. I don't drink to excess, occasionally, but no, I don't. None of the indicators that they kept asking me about and telling me to improve, there was nothing I could do, other than the smoking, which I gave up maybe 15 years ago. So no, not really, not much to learn from it. No.
There isn't really, is there? No. It's just a case of now it's happened. This awful thing has happened. You're getting over it. You're working forwards. You've got objectives in mind. They're realistic, and you're back out and you're running. I'm back out. I'm running. Yeah. And that's the big important thing at the end of the day.
It's unbelievable the feeling the first time you run. Fabulous. First time outdoors in particular was really good. Even if it was in December.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to get shorts and t-shirts on again. That'll be nice.
Aye. Well, that's all I've got to ask David about today. Has anybody here got any questions they want to put to him? Anything about his recovery?
It's worth giving me the mic for this one. That day in Kilmarnock, Davy, at what point did you stop the watch?
Great question, Jim. I didn't prompt him, honestly, but I am incredibly proud of the fact that I stopped the watch precisely where I started talking to Brian McClure, the first marshal. I stopped my watch exactly where I stopped the race. I'm very, very proud of that one.
I think on that note, we'll call it at that, if someone's got any more questions? No?
Thank you very much to Sean and David.